Hi and welcome. My name is Anita Rehome and I'm the financial literacy coach for St. Philip's College. And today, in partnership with Credit Human, I have here Mac Anthony and Ashley Adams to present to you on financial wellness. So go ahead and introduce yourself, you guys.
Hello, hello. Thank you everybody for joining us today. We appreciate your coming out. This is part one of our four-part series that was created especially for St. Philip, so hopefully we'll get to see you again. We'll begin with an introduction to Credit Human and the importance of financial health. And like the title says, we're going to introduce ourselves to you and we're going to reintroduce ourselves to some of you who may already know who we are. And of course, we'll speak to the importance of financial health. My name is Mac Anthony. It's one word. That's my first name. We also have with us Ashley. Ashley, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so kindly, ma'am. She's the account manager from Credit Human that works with your school to set these events up. Before we begin, we also have to throw out a very special thank you to St. Philip's College for their partnership. It's really great that you attend a school that values your financial health. And of course, a special thank you to Anita. We couldn't do these without you. Thank you so much. We appreciate your help as well. Our objective is to continue our mission in trying to share suggestions for bettering our financial health. It's our hope that some of you are going to utilize these webinars to help you with ideas for staying on track, getting back on track, or for some of us just looking for a track, trying to decide what we're going to do next. American writer Hugh Prather said, "There's a time to let things happen and a time to make things happen." And Credit Human wants you to know that we want to be available to you to make things happen together, dedicated through persistence. If you have any other bank or any other credit union, that's perfectly fine too. It's our hope that you're going to look into their services as well. Look, what we know for sure is that nothing's for sure, but that uncertainty also means that anything is possible. And that means we don't have to be afraid of the stress. We know that by planning for the unexpected, we're going to be less stressed. We believe awareness and being prepared are essential in planning, and this is the way we're going to get around any stress. We can be ready for planned events like birthdays, vacations, landscape projects, even planning for our next semester. And we can also be ready for the surprises like the phone that dies when we didn't expect it to, ready for when maybe our income is diminished or it's cut off. Ready for any of these, because if we're ready for those surprises, they're not going to be surprises. So today, as always, we hope to share with you a few Credit Human insights, a few ideas that might help us reach that next level of financial nirvana, where we might be able to avoid financial anxiety. We're going to be looking into and planning our spending and savings habits. And we know that it doesn't sound like it's a lot of fun, but we also know that by ignoring the issues, that shouldn't be an option either. Earl Wilson, American sports figure, said it best: snow and adolescence, those are the only two problems that are going to disappear if you ignore them long enough. So kudos to all of you for joining us today and for your willingness to focus on your futures together. This is the first presentation in our series. This is where we start our journey with you. We're going to be looking at the financial health inside and out. It's the introductory session, which starts out with a simple high overview introduction, and then it moves into the importance of our financial health and its capacity to actually direct our lifestyles. As our series continues, we layer in more and more detailed webinars, such as learning how to save and spend, and then we're going to end up with a deeper dive into credit reports and credit scores. Ooh. Our next webinar scheduled for you guys is going to be Spending Plan Worksheet. This is where we're actually going to cover a worksheet to better understand how we're actually spending our money. Do we have enough money left over after we budget? And if we've got leftover money, can we set a goal? Personally, I was so amazed when I first did this worksheet, and even now I periodically have to run my lifestyle through this worksheet as the checkup just to make sure I'm staying on track that I created, because sometimes I fall off the track a little bit. Throughout our series, as a common practice, you're going to find that we repeat what we feel is important material as we attempt to reinforce our financial health messages while we continue layering in new points of information, some support, and some encouragement. All right, so let's start by looking at our agenda for today. This is going to be the introduction to Credit Human. Of course, that's exactly what it is. We're going to review the effects of financial stress. How does stress actually affect our lives and our work and those around us? We're going to look into the why and the what of financial health. We're going to peel back the layers just like an onion so that we can better understand what financial health actually is. We're going to look at planning and its role in awareness, what planning is and why we need it. We're going to look at the tools of financial health. Like I said, we're going to share a few of those Credit Human planning tools, and hopefully you can find some of them to be helpful. And then lastly, next steps, we're going to be looking at different ways that we can get started. And speaking of getting started, let's start with our history. If you joined Credit Human when we started in 1935 at Kelly Airfield, later known as Kelly Air Force Base, you knew us as National Federation of Federal Employees, Local number 28. I've always got to think that in my head already and take a little breath before I say it. Guys, Credit Human has multiple financial health centers and branches around our city. We'll talk more about the difference between each of these in just a bit. Credit Human has always been dedicated to not only improving the financial lives of our members and their families, but also to all the communities that we're a part of. We want to share our knowledge, our tools, and our confidence to build our futures together, making us even stronger than before. We continue our dedication to a variety of causes. The Excel Awards program you may be familiar with. We've been in this, I think, for over 20 years now with KENS 5. We choose a teacher from each of the 19 area school districts, and they're honored with a $1,000 check for outstanding performances for the work that they do. Kudos to all of them. Hopefully we have a few Spurs fans watching. Yay, go Spurs, go. We're proud to be the official credit union of the San Antonio Spurs also for almost 20 years now. We're wishing them the best of luck in this next game. And we're also partnered with UTSA's Alumni and Athletic Association. Guys, we've been helping members thrive for 86 years through recessions, Black Mondays, the housing bubble, health crisis, just to name a few. But we've also witnessed polio vaccines, artificial intelligence, holograms, personal computers, even the internet itself. And throughout our history, we've always been driven by people, our communities, and our purpose has always been the communities and always above profit. All right, we shared a little bit about Credit Human now. Let's get a better understanding of how banks compare to credit unions. Basic difference, banks have customers while credit unions have members. Banks compete with each other to get ahead, whereas credit unions work with each other, and we share a lot of resources like shared branching. Larger differences are banks are for-profit corporations. They have shareholders who own the bank and earn the profits. If the bank employee has to choose between the customer and the shareholder, they're going to choose the side of the shareholder, and I get it. It's a business. Credit unions, on the other hand, are not for profit. No need to choose between a shareholder and a member. At a credit union, you are the member and the owner. Even the employees are actually members, so there's no need to make a choice. There's also a myth that banks and credit unions don't offer the same benefits. And this is just a myth. Basically, we all offer the same very similar products and services with slight variations. The main difference I'm going to tell you for sure is credit unions' rates will almost always be better than traditional banks. Otherwise, we've got the same products and services, checking accounts, competitive rates, credit cards, loans, 24/7 access to your account, and of course the free debit cards, all the same. Credit Human's commitment, this is where we differ a lot. We are here and dedicated to help others improve their financial health. Today's webinar is a prime example of our dedication and the dedication of your school. So we talked about the differences between banks and credit unions, as well as the similarities in member benefits. We talked about Credit Human and our dedication to the community. And that leads us to why we're here today. Financial Health. Financial Health Network, they're a third-party entity. They did a study and they found that 67% of American adults struggle financially. 67%. That's 220 million adults. Think about it. When you're in a church, a mall, a club, imagine over 50% of the people that you're surrounded by have some sort of financial issues, big issues, small issues. And keep in mind, we're all reacting to these on different levels because of the stress. This is why we're reaching out to you, because we know that there are a lot of people in this situation, and people who are struggling financially are not always in a good space. As daunting as it may sound, there are ways to turn things around. Those struggling can become financially healthy again and even for the first time. Writer novelist Michael Korda said, "In order to succeed, we must first believe that we can." Of course, unfortunately, as life would have it, many times those of us struggling may have to deal with stress before establishing actual financial health. And this stress can be at a multitude of different levels. I'm going to give you an example here of financial stress and how it might affect us. Financial stress equals stress, and this affects us in ways we may not even be aware of. Stress can affect us as individuals. Studies show that this could affect us physically and mentally. High blood pressure, anxiety, the way we handle the stress can greatly affect our actual health. And of course, there's the stress, how it can affect our families. We're not getting along maybe with our family or our friends. We're short-tempered. We might be easy to upset. And of course, the stress affects our work and our school. We've got a loss of concentration. Productivity might suffer. There might be an increase in absenteeism. It's hard to stay focused on work and studies if all you're thinking about are your finances, especially for things that we need like housing. Of course, all of these can trickle down to community connections. Studies show that there's a sense of isolation from the community. We may remember or know what it's like when everybody wanted to go to get a hamburger after work or school, and we were either worried about our specific situations, we didn't want to socialize, maybe it didn't fit into our budget. Currently, we know there's a lot of things that don't fit into our budgets. Remember that stress can be at different levels. The example I'm going to give you may be a little more extreme than most. This is a personal story I wanted to share. This is many, many years ago. And for those of you who know me, also know that this was a very long time ago. The good news is I have learned since then how to plan, and I can tell you I am so grateful. But the experience is always going to stay with me, and I'm never going to get that feeling of financial stress. I came home from work one night, and my neighbor came over and told me, listen, there was a truck here today that was there to repossess my car. They were talking to him, trying to figure out my schedule. I called a close friend of mine. I asked her if I could keep my car at her house until we could figure things out. I took my car over there. She gave me a ride back home. It's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning. I tossed and I turned, obviously. I don't think I slept at all, and I had to work the next morning. So there I was. I'm experiencing individual stress and work stress. I'm hardly sleeping, and you know that really affected me a lot at work the next day. It was stressful and it was embarrassing. My neighbor now knew what I was going through. My friend where I left my car now knew what I was going through. So here's my family stress, my community stress. I felt separated from my friends and my family, and where was I going to get the money from? The guilt then sets in. Once the guilt sets in, I'm thinking, how did I get to this point? How was I going to get out of this point? I can tell you right now, I'm still a little stressed from telling you that story, and I still get stressed even though it's my memory. It's my story, but I'm going to tell you the good thing is, again, my story didn't end there. That adversity was my inspiration. I finally understood that the best way to beat this was to become financially healthy. If I wanted to get rid of the stress, I needed to get rid of the stress factors. My life changed for me when I realized it was me that had to change. I had to think differently. I had to be prepared. I needed to behave differently. These lessons I learned on my own. That's why I'm sharing my personal stories with you in hopes that you can learn from my experience. Hello, this is the voice of experience talking. Been there, done that. I bought the t-shirt. I know from experience that experience is the greatest school that you can learn from. But let me tell you, the enrollment fees you have to pay can be extremely high. Take advantage of this voice of experience and avoid that drama. All right, we may think, so how am I supposed to figure out where to start? Let's begin by becoming aware. Credit Human defines financial health into 3 components. Day-to-day financial management. This person isn't stressing about money. They're spending less than they make, and they're creating slack. Slack is the money left over after we pay our bills and our living expenses. You'll hear us use that word a lot. You know, people always ask us, though, what's a good number for slack? There is no good number for slack. I wish there was, but there isn't, because all of us have different needs. A good slack number for me may not be a good slack number for you. In general, though, we can tell you that $1 left over would be a good number. That does not sound like enough, right? I 100% agree, but think about it. If I've got $1 left over, that means I was able to pay for my bills, all of them. I was able to pay for all my living expenses, and I still had $1 left over. Do I want more than that dollar? Most definitely. I promise you I do. And that's why we're here talking to you today. How do we end up with more than just that dollar? All right. Our next component is resilience to weather ups and downs. Someone who spends less than they make, someone who's building a savings cushion, maybe for emergencies, that maybe they want to pay off a bill. They might have leftover funds. Ooh, that's slack. And once they pay off all those expenses, this person may have access also to affordable credit if they needed it. And hopefully we'll see you for the credit webinar because we do get in depth into that. And then there's the long-term opportunity. This person is planning for the future. They're maybe thinking about buying a home, retiring. Maybe they just want to build up their savings just in case. These are the components of our lives, guys, and we're going to find ourselves in and out of each of these components throughout our lives. I know I've personally been in and out of all 3 of these at one point or another. As you can tell from my story about my car, I wasn't even on the chart. I was way off to the left, not even close to the day-to-day. It took me a while to even start. English writer Julius Hare is quoted as saying, "Be what you are. This is the first step towards becoming better than you are." So finding myself off that component chart was an awakening. I tell you right now, again, the voice of experience, I wish I would have been more aware and much earlier. All right, so now let's determine which component that we're at, and so that none of you are going to be as surprised as I was. This is gauging financial health. We can ask ourselves a few of these questions. I'm not going to cover them all, but I want to cover a few from each column just to make a point. The component number one, day to day. This is someone, again, who's having financial stress, could be living paycheck to paycheck. They've got no extra money, just getting by on the bills. They can't go to the movies. What a family of four can cost like $1,000 if you buy the popcorn. Someone could be juggling bills. Maybe they're letting the light bill go so that they can buy groceries, buying new tires that they need rather than paying for their phone bill. Component number two, the resilience money. The studies show that having money saved is going to be a financially healthy idea. People can lose their jobs. People might get in an accident, they can't work. So what happened to the people that worked at Sears, Payless Shoes? There's a multitude of businesses, local and national, that are struggling and some are closing down. Macy's, Nordstrom's, Forever 21, Luby's, my wonderful Luby's, and even Pier 1. They've all announced closures that are either already happened or they're happening soon. Did these people have at least 3 months of income saved? Do we have enough resilience? Then there's the long term. Studies show that people who make savings a priority are going to be more financially healthy. Taking a little bit of our earnings and putting them into a savings account, maybe. People with retirement funds are going to be more financially healthy. Guys, what if we're lucky enough to live to be 80 or 85 years old? Will we have enough money to survive and continue with a comfortable lifestyle? Our commitment. We believe that by dedicating our financial behavior to a goal, we can stress less about our finances. So no matter what component your goal might be, you got to believe the change. You've got to visualize our financial goal by gauging our financial health. This is where we're determining, we're making it real. I call it the Oprah Winfrey moment. I want to stop living paycheck to paycheck. I want to stop juggling my bills. I want to have extra money saved up to live on if I needed it. I want to have money saved for my retirement. Look, we don't have to say, but think about these goals that we just looked at. Look at each one of the components. Read each one in the gold box there. Which goal best describes where you're at right now or where you want to be? Take a look at each of these. So now we're going to set up one of these as our goal, right? We're looking at these and saying, that's my goal. So guess what happened? We just picked a goal as our own. And guess what that means? We're already planning. We're already moving towards a better state of financial health. Just by setting goals, minimal efforts, we've already started planning. We're planning without even thinking about planning. And by dedicating our financial behavior to a goal, we know that we can stress less about our finances. All right, so now that we have a better idea of what it means to be financially healthy, what's a good predictor of financial health? What do you think is the main factor to being able to be financially healthy? Credit Human believes planning is the good predictor. A lot of people think that money and wealth is the predictor. Lottery, being rich, inheriting money. People have even asked us, what about having money saved? Well, having money saved is a good predictor, but guess what? We save money as a part of planning. Even if it's an automatic direct deposit to an off to the side, set it and forget it account, that's still planning. Many people think the more money we have, the better off we're going to be. And actually, again, going back to Financial Health Network, they know that income alone does not predict financial health. Research shows that 1/3 of American adults who make over $60,000 are financially unhealthy, while 1/3 of American adults who make under $60,000 are financially healthy. So what we earn doesn't really seem to necessarily indicate our financial health, does it? The bottom line, it's not how much we earn, it's how much we plan. The answer is going to be planning. We know that just by planning and practicing a savings habit, that we're going to be 4 times more likely to be financially healthy. 4 times, and that's a lot. This is someone who simply drops their change at the end of the day into a bottle. Like we said before, maybe setting up a savings account off to the side for self-acting deposits. It's automatic, it's instinctive. And also, think about it, there are only 2 options to help in becoming financially healthy. We got to make more money, or, I'm sure you can figure out the next one, spend less money. Make more or spend less. And both are basically true, and both are part of planning. Remember, things that can happen, they can derail us, large or small, and that's okay. We just have to dust ourselves off and get back on the plan. It's like a diet. We may understand the diet, we constantly live the diet, but sometimes we fall off the diet. And it's the same thing with budgeting. Sometimes we fall off the budget. Just get back on. It's okay. We actually believe that with planning and the right tools for the job, we can get better at managing our finances, and we can stop worrying about money. And you know what happens when you stop worrying about money? You stop the stress. All right, so now hopefully we get a better understanding about planning. Let's take another deeper look at slack. Here's the river. Our income and our expenses flow through this river. Income minus expenses equals slack. If we have more income than we have expenses, we will have more slack. Remember, slack is good. We want slack. We can save for the future to make special purchases. Maybe we want to make a little savings cushion so that we're not so stressed out. Look, we know that the math is pretty straightforward, but of course, we also know that living the math can be challenging. So why is it so challenging? Well, there's a lot of internal and external factors that are going to drive our decision making. When we're under financial stress, our ability to make good decisions a lot of times can be greatly reduced. Especially with food and shelter, we may think there's no other solution. We may look for a quick fix. That's how a lot of us might end up at a payday lender. Our skill, our ability and desire to plan may go right out the window. If we're stressing about our finances, when we get stressed, we might either slow down our spending, stop our spending altogether, or the complete other side of the coin, we might actually be overly optimistic about our future rather than valuing our current situation. Sometimes it isn't even a matter of choice, and we know that. And this shows when we might decide to maybe use credit to finance a purchase, especially if we think there's no way of saving for it. Look, we know that making savings a natural and everyday way of thinking isn't always easy, but we also know that we can't decide to start saving when we actually need the savings. You can't start planning for the hurricane as the hurricane is happening around us, although that might be a good way to be ready for the next hurricane, right? For this reason, we strongly suggest to make savings a priority and a matter of routine, building slack so that when life hits us, we can hit life back. Marketers also bombard us with a lot of external factors. We're also aware of those every minute of our connected day. Buy now, pay later. We've all been there. Credit offers coming at us left and right. How many did we get in our email today, and the coupons? And then you've got the billboards and the web ads and the commercials. And what we think is the most important factor for why it's hard to stick to a plan, we're not even planning. Without a plan, we have little to no slack. And the less slack we have, the more stress we're going to have. We believe, and we cannot stop repeating, that the more we can make savings automatic and we can slow down our spending decisions, the more that we can build up that slack. So how can Credit Human help us plan? Maybe we can introduce you to a few of our planning tools we talked about earlier. We've got the Spending Plan Worksheet, the eMoney Manager, and the Financial Health Centers. And we're going to take a little high overview look at each of these now. The Spending Plan Worksheet. This allows us to log our expenses as well as our income so we can be a little more aware of our spending habits. This allows us to track our financial goals, see where we're spending. Maybe we might need to adjust. And we can use this worksheet no matter where you bank. We're going to find the link for this worksheet on our Credit Human website. And I believe they'll also be sending you this link later on in a follow-up. Listen, the next one is the eMoney Manager. This is specific to Credit Human members. And if you don't bank with us, again, check with your financial institution, see if they might offer something similar. This keeps our day-to-day tracking on our dashboard. It's a great help to keep us on track for planning, for saving, for reaching our goals. And my favorite, my fun part, for spending as well. It actually talks to us and walks us through and where we can be a little more making thoughtful choices. We're going to talk later in greater detail in another seminar about the spending. That's what I love about this company, guys. That's what I love about this program. We're not asking you to give anything up. We're just asking you to make those thoughtful choices. A few features of our eMoney Manager to help us in making those thoughtful choices are that we can set up the transactions by category. We can set them up to display by week or by multiple months. And it's got a great analyzer tool that shows us the percentages of our use, and these are from our own set parameters. Notice here the spending shows $96 for groceries, for instance. And then we also have the eMoney Manager track transaction history. This is going to list your recent activity debits and credits. Here, for example, you can see $5.79 for personal from Target. You can also set up the alerts. I personally love alerts, guys. Anything that's going to help me understand and not have to worry about how I spend money. All I got to do is set it and forget it. No thinking. I'm all over that. And if our alerts are set too low or too high, we can adjust them at any time. But the alerts and the different ways that we can set up our dashboard, that's what helps us make ourselves aware of our spending habits. These are all part of planning. I've got a friend that shared a story with us I want to share with you now. It's a true story that happened to her with her son. This is how she taught him about the importance of planning. She's also in the financial health business. She got a text from her son. He sent her a screenshot of his budget warning from his eMoney Manager app, the Go app. And at the top of the screen in red, what does it say? Your monthly spending has exceeded your budget limit. So keep in mind, he set up his budget. This was his own limits, and then he exceeded them. And this happens. This is how we learn what's comfortable for us so we can go back and adjust. She said she looked at it and she smiled. And then he sent her this text that read, "This is bad, right? LOL, I have a problem," with a sad face emoji. She told me that she laughed to herself and she replied to him, "You and more than half the American adults." After she reassured him that he was not alone, she went on to explain to him that he had the power to turn things around. She continued by telling him that thanks to that eMoney Manager, he can now pay more attention to how he's spending his money and that this would lead him in a better direction. Having alerts set would remind him to monitor and adjust. She let him know that she instantly loved that he recognized he was in trouble, that he took this app, and he placed it in charge of his spending. You could tell she was so proud when she was telling me the story. Remember, being aware of where we're spending our money, this is the first part of planning. You can't gauge where you're going to if you don't know where you've been, where you started from. All right, so another great resource for everyone, one of my personal favorites, this is the Financial Health Centers. We know that sometimes we may need assistance, a workout buddy, if you will, and we may need, or maybe we just want the one-on-one guided support. If you or someone you know is at a crossroad and not sure which way to go, the Financial Health Centers might be the perfect partner that we're looking for. Please contact them before you go there. Their hours and appointment availabilities may fluctuate. Traditional branches can help with standard transactions, money in, money out, cashing checks, things along those lines. And the Financial Health Centers can take care of these as well, but as an added benefit, they also have more time to focus on us and our specific needs. They were designed to be able to spend quality time with us. We can talk in person, we can talk virtually, and keep in mind, whether you're just starting to think about how to better your finances, or maybe we're at the deeper end of the pool and we're interested in a possible life preserver, this could be a perfect choice. And we don't have to be stressing either to go to the Financial Health Centers. Maybe we just want to start planning for the future. There will be graduations, there will be quinceañeras, there will be more holiday celebrations. So it's pretty much your need, your call. And you don't even have to be a member. We cannot emphasize that enough. You don't have to be a member. Anyone can walk into any one of the Financial Health Centers to talk to anybody about budgeting, savings, credit scores, buying a house, whatever any financial interest you might have. We want you to know that that's how important we think it is to help others. We don't even care if you're a member or not. Imagine that, guys, someone you can talk to in your corner, someone who's not going to judge, someone whose only objective, their only objective is to get everybody into a better financial place. And please share this information with your friends and your family. Like I said, it's free to them as well. Don't keep us a secret. Just remember, the standard branches are not like Financial Health Centers. So if you want specific one-on-one help, member or not, please check into one of the Financial Health Centers. Guys, these resources and the different ways that we can use them, this is how we can help create awareness. And the more aware that we can be about our financial goals, the better our chances are at reaching them, no matter what they are. And if you don't consider Credit Human, that's okay. Consider your bank or your credit union. They might offer something similar, some sort of program to help you with planning. You can find the different locations for our Financial Health Centers on our website. And as I mentioned before, I'd suggest calling to work out a time to visit. Keep in mind, today at our webinar, as a special thanks for attending, we're also offering to fund the initial deposit requirements if you'd like to open a savings or a checking account. Remember, this could be your set it and forget it account if you choose to use our bank for that. We've got a bit.ly that we're going to be sharing with you shortly. If you enroll, we're going to waive any required deposits. The funds will come for free. My favorite price. Is there any better price than free? And it's an actual, honest to goodness, 100% free account, guys. No minimum deposit. No surprise charges, no specific balance or direct deposit required. No kidding, absolutely free. Look, if you open an account with us, that'd be really great, but it's not why we're here. We're just trying to share a few ideas of how to get more slack into everybody's life with things like the free savings and checking accounts, free information, free visits to our Financial Health Centers, member or not. Think about it, it's not important where you start, with Credit Human or not, it's just our hope that you do start. Check with your bank or your credit union, see if they offer something similar that can help with your financial health. Please consider planning to save as well as planning to spend. Just think of the possibilities. So as we said in the beginning, so how do we get started? We've discussed different variations for this. For instance, if we're using the self-service, for Credit Human members, we can use the eMoney Manager, the online banking, the Credit Human mobile app, the Go app, and of course we can use that spending plan worksheet. If you're not a Credit Human member, again, that's okay. You can either become a member online, you can check with your financial institution to see what they might offer that's comparable, and of course, our spending plan worksheet you can use no matter where you bank. For those of us that like the group workshops like this one, just keep track of the upcoming webinars and workshops by checking your calendars and emails. And then for those of us that like the one-on-one guided support, try to plan visiting one of our financial health centers. And listen, we don't want anyone to think that these are the end all. We just want you to know that these centers are here, they're free, and they're available to anyone and everyone, again, member or not. A great place where we could work together and nurture a plan for your success. I'm going to reiterate, tell your friends and tell your family. We're like a best kept secret. I don't want to be a best kept secret anymore. And again, remember, member or not. No matter which way we choose to start, we simply hope that everyone will start, again, with Credit Human or your financial institution. Currently, we know that there's a multitude of American adults that are having financial issues to one extent or another. Together, we can overcome anything. St. Francis of Assisi said it greatest, the best. Start by doing what's necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you're going to be doing the impossible. Credit Human believes it's possible to build up that slack and tear down that stress. All right, so let's do a quick little recap here. We looked at the financial stress and its impacts, remember the mental and the physical effects, and we defined financial health components. Again, remember day-to-day, resilience, and long-term. We now know the importance of planning, and that without a plan, there's no real direction. We also learned what slack is, and that there's no perfect number for slack because we all have different needs. We learned how planning creates awareness of habits, and that we could use the self-service, the one-on-one guided support, and of course, the group webinars like this one. Like we mentioned before, this is our introductory class. We've got a high overview of multiple webinars and workshops that we offer. This is an introduction to who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do. And remember, planning is essential. Planning and awareness and modifying are fundamental. Planning, no matter how you approach it, is the predictor of financial health. When we're planning, we're utilizing worksheets, we're setting alerts, small behavioral changes, like I talked about, throwing your change into a jar, maybe setting up a side account to set it and forget it to deposit automatically. These are ways to create savings habits that increase our slack and decrease our financial stress. American writer Dean Foster said it best. Spontaneity is one of the joys of existence, especially if you prepare for it in advance. So plan for savings, my friends. Build the slack. When you build the slack, you lessen the stress. Thank you guys so much for sharing your time with us today. We hope everybody leaves today with a little bit of information, maybe some encouragement, and hopefully a few ideas. This is that bit.ly that we talked about. We created Rate Credit Human. You can just put this in your browser box and select enter. It takes about 2 minutes to complete. This is very important to us. If you get a chance to do these, your feedback is valued. It's how we design our future programs, so please make your voice count. When assigning points, you select 1 through 5, 1 being the lowest rating and 5 being the highest rating. The first drop-down menu allows you to select St. Philip's College students, and the drop-down menu obviously is alphabetized. The second bit.ly that we're sharing you with here, Join Credit Human. This will allow you to become a member with us with no deposit requirements. Or of course, you can always go to our website and open an account there. But if you use this bit.ly address, there will be no deposit requirements. We call the sign up 1, 2, 3. It's just that easy. If you use this link, there's no promo code necessary. Your account's going to be funded for you. If you have any issues, please feel free to reach out to us for assistance. Guys, you have a wonderful message on your website under values. St. Philip's College is committed to building individual and collective character through shared values, including respect for all, community engagement, and collaboration. Love that. Thank you all for everything that you do. These financial health webinars are our commitment to respecting everyone in our shared communities and helping them to better their future, doing what we can to make savings and thoughtful spending some sort of natural part of everyone's life. So we'll be happy with that. I want to thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, we're going to be answering those now, so please enjoy the rest of your day. We hope to see you on our next webinar. I'm going to release my screen now so that we can get to the questions. And that means Ashley will be coming back.
Hi, everyone.
There you are. Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you, Mac. So we do have quite a few questions that were submitted by Anita, so I really appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and read them, and then me and Mac will answer them for you.
Great.
Okay. So the first one, it appears to be a two-part question. Is it important to set financial goals? And how do I set financial goals? So this is an absolutely great question. And we did speak on it a little bit on our presentation, but yes, it is so important to set a financial goal, just like any other goal in life. If you aren't working towards something specific, it's really easy to get lost, to deviate from the plan, and sometimes just forget why you're doing any of it in the first place. So setting that goal really makes it real. It gives you something to strive to, and it really gives you something achievable to focus on. And then when you achieve that goal, it's obviously that's a wonderful feeling in itself. To do that. And also how to set financial goals. So again, this is going to be different for everyone. Everyone's going to have different types of goals. I know one good practice that I use to start is to really set maybe smaller, shorter, short-term goals. Something easy to set up to maybe get you in that savings habit or get you into just those small behavior changes, set a short-term goal, and then start using that to build up to longer-term goals once you've achieved that. For example, it could be something as easy as, saying that I want to save $100 in 6 months, and just kind of creating that plan and getting that short-term goal going.
I love that Ashley, the way you're saying that, Ashley, because we don't want to say, I don't want to set a goal that I want to be a multimillionaire by the time I'm 25, which I'm obviously way past that one. But if you're setting these little goals that you can reach, that you can attain, this really, because it's such a great feeling. I know for myself, once I started reaching that first goal, I wanted to hit the next one, and it made me very conscious of making sure that I was working hard to reach the next goal. So, like Ashley says, don't over plan. Just make sure that you're setting yourself realistic goals and work through those. And if you fall off, like we talked about in the seminar, then you fell off, then you get back on.
Yep. Okay, so the next question, how do we stick to a financial goal? So that's another great question. It could be multiple answers on that. Again, everyone's different, everyone's circumstances are different. But honestly, you can try to make it as easy as possible as well. Kind of what Matt mentioned in the presentation, even if it's just putting change aside or even a set it and forget it account at your institution or a different institution, having a savings account where money may be going automatically, that makes it really easy to stick to a plan because it's doing the work for you. But there's also a lot of other ways to stick to a financial goal as well. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody. Having a support system, having a strong support system in any of your goals in life is key. And that being said, with our financial health centers, for example, you don't have to be a member. You don't have to be even in dire straits or struggling. Just having that person to be by your side to look over your goals, help you achieve those goals. And we use the example a lot as a workout buddy. You're going to the gym. Sometimes you don't feel as motivated, but you have that workout buddy with you, kind of keeping you going and motivated. And that could be, with your financial institution or where you bank or even at our financial health centers. They will work with you. They can call you to make sure you're staying on track. You can check in with them. So again, don't be afraid to have a conversation or talk to somebody. Also, seek progress, not perfection. No one's perfect. No one expects you to set your goals, set your plan, and everything's always going to go perfect. Nothing ever goes wrong, and it's there. If you're seeking that progress and not that perfect idea of it, you're going to be a lot more successful. Because like Max said, it's okay to deviate from the plan. It's okay to fall off for the week or the month and then get right back on and start planning again. There's no perfect way to do it, but to just know that each time, just try to progress in your plan and stick to it. And then also another way to stick to the plan is to plan for the unexpected as well, not just all the fun things. It's always great when we're setting a goal and we're like, I'm going to Disneyland and I want to save for Disneyland, and that's wonderful. But also realize and don't be discouraged that if life happens, you get a flat tire, you need $150 for a tire, it's okay to take some of that savings you were going toward that goal and shift it over because you have that money available to you. So just prepare for the unexpected as well. I don't know if Mac, if you want to add any more to that.
I think you were really right on the head there. Was that we all have a tendency to want to plan for the trip to Disneyland is a great example. The planning for the great things, and that's always good. And don't stop planning. That's we want to keep planning. but we want to sneak a little bit of also Plan B. I'm going to be 64 this year. I think I'm 64. That's when you know you're getting really old. You don't even remember how old you are. I know that I try very hard to set a plan, but I also know it at this, how do you say, at this junction of my life, that not everything goes the way that you want to plan. And so I've had plan A and plan B, and honest to goodness, I've made it to plan D sometimes. Where, but having those plans, man, what a blessing! Because eventually, I wasn't thrown off. I wasn't surprised, like I talk about in the seminar. I wasn't surprised because I was ready for it. So when it didn't go like plan A, I just moved it over to plan B. And when plan B didn't work, I just moved it over. It, and having that built in, I think it's going to be, it's a saving grace for sure.
Awesome. It looks like some of the questions that are coming up are a little bit more about the presentation. So the question is, what is Slack? So I would love for you to go back over that again, just so we can really explain that to everyone.
Slack is the money left over after you pay all your bills and all your living expenses. Like I said in the presentation, I definitely want more than the money that's left over when we use that dollar as an example. But again, to that point, I'd rather be on the positive side than the negative side. At least I had some money left over, but you were able to satisfy everything. And the first time that I was able to do that, because I wasn't always able to do that, and the first time I was really actually had, and it wasn't a dollar, but I'm not kidding you, I might have had like $20 left over. I thought, that's it. And then I thought, yeah, that's it. I paid everybody on time the amount of money that I owed them, and then I started to build from there. And then I've learned to knock on wood, get a little more than that $20 left over. But I think it's really good that you work on the Slack. Again, think about it, it's just savings. The money that's going to help you. That's this. I always think I think in Spanish sometimes, and the Slack is the how do you say, the gap in the belt, so that sometimes you're making that plan. Think about it as a Thanksgiving meal. You don't want a belt that doesn't have another hole, okay? So you can continue to grow that way.
Awesome. Okay, and the next question is, can you explain self-service?
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. How do you explain?
Right. Can you explain self-service? So one of the 3 ways to get started.
Yeah. Pretty much it's just I know that technology wise, especially those of us, I'm going to throw myself in that group. I know a lot of people that are much more technically savvy than I am. So we have a tendency to want to do things self-service. I like taking a picture of my check and sending it on. I like going on the internet and getting XYZ. So that's going to be that person looking for these the spending plan worksheet where you can go and pull it off. But how great is it to have that in your hand and actually talk to somebody from a financial health center for free, and you don't have to be a member, and just tell them, help me with. We have people, and I love these stories because they come from the financial health centers all the time. People walk in with a handful of bills and a handful of checks and say, okay, what do we do? How do we do it? We don't have a magic button. There is, the financial health centers aren't going to have a magic wand that's just going to boom and everything's fine. But we've got a lot of resources there. Those are the people that we go to get answers, and so it's nice to be able to have that support, because we don't always have support around us, especially non-judgmental support. I know that's kind of hard sometimes, but this is somebody who's again, only objective is to really get us on track. So don't feel like you're stuck being self-service, because sometimes maybe you start out that way and then you can go on to the others, or maybe you start out in the others like you were at the webinar today, and then you go back to the self-service, and whatever comfort levels that are good for you. But talking to them, that's the most important thing, because together you're going to decide what's your plan of action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just to summarize that, so anything that you have access to yourself, so our spending plan worksheet, we would consider self-service. You can fill that out on your own, or again, seek help for that at the Financial Health Center. That is available on our website, credithuman.com/spending plan. But our next webinar will be focused around that universal budgeting worksheet. So that will be the next one coming up, but also your financial institutions, online banking. The example we gave for our members is eMoney Manager, which is a personal financial management tool that you can access on your computer or your smartphone through our Go mobile app. So those would all be considered self-service. Okay, so the next question, so the next few questions are going to be about our financial health center. So I'll just read all of those and we'll just kind of speak to those. So the first one is it free? The second one is, do I need to be a member? And the last one is, how often can I schedule to meet with a financial health center employee? So those kind of all,
I just want to say, yes, it's free. No, you don't have to be a member, and you can go as often as you want.
Yeah, so like Mike, it is completely free. It is a resource available to you guys. It's a community resource. So whether you bank with us or not, you can go in there and just have a conversation. They do have the ability to make appointments. So if there's a specific time that you would like to talk to somebody, you can make that appointment either online or over the phone. Or you can go in, you can walk-ins are available as well. Like Max said, ours have been a little bit different and shifting just because of our current situation, but always feel free to call. If you go to our website, credithuman.com, and put in financial health centers, it will take you to their page to learn more about them and the schedule of appointment. But yeah, it is completely free. There's no obligation to become a member. You can go in there and, like Max said, you can bring your bills, your statements from wherever you bank and say, I need help just starting. I need to figure out where to start. I need to create a budget. They have copies of those spending plan worksheets that they can work out with you. And again, there is a fillable PDF available on our website that does all the math for you, which I love, because anything that's doing math for me, I love. So, and again, we will present that link in the next webinar as well. So it's a free resource. Whether you want to be a member or not, you are eligible for being students of St. Philip's, but tell your family, tell your friends, it's a free resource, no need to be a member. And honestly, it is up to you how much time that you want to spend with them or not spend with them. You can have it where I want to meet monthly just to make sure I'm on track, following my goals. Maybe it's I want to meet quarterly. You can literally go in there as many times as you want. They are there available for you. And they are set up to spend as much time with you as you need. Okay.
It's always nice. And keep in mind, like we talked about earlier, it's not so much that you have to be in dire straits. Sometimes, maybe the sheet is actually really good because it's also about setting a goal. So it's figuring out how much money you have coming in, figuring out how much money you have going out, and then you're working up to see if there's any slack in there. It shows you the actual calculations of how to figure out the slack. And then if you've got that slack, you can set a goal. And then again, setting a goal isn't always just about, I need this much money in 12 months sort of thing. It's not just how much money and how much time. It doesn't always work that simple. The math is pretty simple like that when you look at it, but there's a lot of variables that are coming in and out. So again, talking with somebody about those, because the bottom line is it's real life variables. It's not just a piece of paper that has no functionality. This is really this is kind of like a jumping off point, if you will. And then there's a lot of different answers and a lot of different roads and a lot of different possibilities. So awesome. If you can't tell by now that I'm an advocate for the financial health centers, we've just heard some really great stories and so much success for people who were not even members. But again, we still get giddy about them.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a couple more questions. Oh, hi, Nita.
Hi. Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a couple more questions left. So I just want to get those out to make sure we're answering everything. And I think this is a really great one. It says, from a student's perspective, a lot of you guys are in the day-to-day financial process. What is a good way to start moving us in the right direction to move forward to get into that savings cushion, maybe even saving for a 3-month expense? So again, that's a really great question because a lot of people probably are in kind of that day-to-day right now. Still in school, and you may either be working a part-time job or may not be working. But the biggest thing with this, and I'm just going to reiterate it again from the presentation, is you can't know where you're going until you know where you are right now. So my biggest suggestion on that, and being in day-to-day management, is to really make sure that you've looked at your expenses, your income, identify your slack. How much money is left over? Do I have any money left over? If I don't have any money left over, if I'm using the spending plan worksheet, for example, where's my money going? And is it a bill that of course we know that we need to pay, or is it, and I'm not picking on, happy hour or going out to eat or, going to the movies, of course right now, people aren't going to the movies, but just looking at that money, and we're not saying to not do it. We're not saying don't spend money on those things. We're just saying to make thoughtful choices in those and really identify where your money's going. Once you see that, you can start setting those short-term and longer-term goals, saying, okay, well, I do have a little bit left over. I'm going to take part of that and start putting that into my savings account. That way I know that over time, I'll start having money in there. So if something does happen unexpectedly, I'm going to be a little bit more prepared for it. And as it's going and you do it, it does become a routine. It comes easier. It becomes, okay, well, I know my money's coming. I already know where my money's going to go. I already know that I'm setting it aside for this goal, or I'm setting it aside for this goal. And it becomes just habitual at that point, you know.
It reminds me, there's an old expression that I remember that says, stop looking at the staircase and start looking at the first step. And so that, to me, that's the greatest way to start anything, right? What's the first thing I need to do? That's the first step. And then you just go from there and you just build like Ashley's talking about.
Yep. And it looks like there's one last question. So I always try to budget and stick to one, but I always fail. How can I stay on track? So, yeah. Did you want to start with that? I know we're both thinking the same thing.
I'm just going back to the original story where it was like, you know what? Sometimes you don't stay on track, and sometimes it's either a need or a want. You make the decisions. It's all up to us to make our own choices, but it's not always easy to stay on track. We understand that fully. But like I talk about the hurricane, I can't start planning for the hurricane when the hurricane's happening around me. I've got to be ready for that and ready for the hurricane. So if nothing else, if that's the way I operate, you know what? Then now I got to start thinking about the next hurricane. This is a great, big, wonderful world we live in. And I promise you there will be more hurricanes, some severe and some not quite. But just being ready for them makes them so much more manageable and a lot less stress.
Mm-hmm. And it's also about the language you used, but I always fail. Don't look at it as a failure. It's part of life. It's not a failure. You don't have to feel bad about it. And don't let it discourage you from planning in the future. Emergencies happen, life happens. You just get back on the plan and just look at it again. It goes back to that progress, not perfection. Nothing's going to be perfect, but as long as you keep going and working at it, you're going to be on the right track to financial health.
I love that. Yes, yes. Good questions, everybody.
Yeah, those were great questions. Thank you, Anita. I think that's all that we have. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to you guys. And I'm really excited for the upcoming webinars as well.
Hopefully we'll see you in that one too. Thank you guys so much for being here. Anita, thank you again for all your help too.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Mac Anthony. There's great information. If any of you students have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to connect you with Ashley to get you connected with the health center. It's very important that you reach out for help if needed. Again, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate your time, taking your time out and being able to present on this very important topic that all of us in today's society needs. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. And we look forward to the next one. Take care.
Bye.